Today's July 19th, 2026. Sholo Police Officer Darrin Reed's 60th birthday. This day belongs entirely to him, to his family, and to the brothers and sisters at the Sholo Police Department who spent 20 years walking the line with him. We are here to honor a soul who gave everything to protect the White Mountains of Arizona. But if you are an officer in Sholo, or any first responder out there who is still replaying a dark day in your head, this message is specifically for you. Remember, you can stop. Remember, you can breathe. And maybe you can allow yourself to be completely removed from the crushing weight of guilt. As first responders, we are conditioned by our training to believe that we are the masters of the outcome. Our brains are wired to think that if we just run a little faster, check one more corner, or back up our partners a few seconds earlier, we can rewrite the script of life and death. When a tragedy happens under our watch, we don't just grieve. We blame ourselves. We play the what-if game on a loop for years. His partner, his commander, the entire shift. You carry a quiet, agonizing burden home with you, wondering what you could have done to rescue him. But the truth I want to offer you today is meant to break that trauma loop and let you know you did your job. You never failed, Officer Darrin Reed. You just never did. Just believe me. To understand why you are completely innocent of that day, we have to look past the badge and see who we really are. As the creator of this video, I want to share a perspective that completely changes how we view life and death. I believe we are not just flesh and bone. The English Standard Version of the Bible anchors this right in the beginning. Genesis 2:7, revealing that then God formed the man of dust from the ground and breathed his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. Before we were ever physical, God, our creator, the divine, imagined us into being. That's right. God imagined us into being, clearly as stated in Genesis 2:7. He envisioned our shape, our purpose, and our path. We are spiritual beings having a temporary physical experience. Our bodies are simply vessels made of dust, created through an imagination. But our true essence is that eternal divine breath that God used to create us. The breath. Look at what Job 32:8 tells us. But it is the Spirit, the breath of the Almighty, that makes us understand. Before we ever step into this realm, our spirit chooses its path. We, as spiritual beings, choose our passions, we choose our family, and we choose the exact moment our soul is ready to transition back to the Creator. Darrin Reed's timeline was already written in stone before November 8th, 2016. When I interviewed Kathy, Darrin's widow, she shared a profound piece of his history from the lens of her own deep faith in God. She said Darrin possessed deep premonitions about upcoming events. And for years, almost in a jesting way, he would tell her that he was never going to live past the age of 50. He said it so often that when he finally reached his 50th birthday, Kathy looked at him and said, "See, you're still here." But Darrin knew his spirit was tethered back to the divine. He was simply waiting for the Creator to call him home. Kathy also noted something incredible about the final weeks of his physical life. There were several other dangerous situations right before November 8th, where Darrin easily could have transitioned back to the spiritual realm. But his soul held on. He was looking out for his family by waiting for the exact exit point at the hotel. Transitioning squarely in the line of duty just 3 months before his retirement, Darrin ensured Kathy and his children were left with full retirement benefits completely provided for. It wasn't a tactical failure that took him. It was a beautiful, intentional final act of devotion by a man who made sure his family was taken care of before he left. And the reason I keep saying transition is because there is no death. We are spiritual beings having a physical life. When we transition back to the spiritual, it's a transition, not a death. There is no way that anyone at the H.O.R.S.E Police Department could have rescued a man from a divine appointment he had made with God before he even pinned on the badge. When that call came, his partner went one way and Darrin went the other. It wasn't a mistake. It was the perfect, exact execution of a spiritual contract. God did exactly what Darrin expected God to do, and what his soul was entirely prepared for. So why does the divine, our Creator, choose to take our loved ones in ways that leave us so broken? The Creator allows these heavy transitions to happen to shake us out of our deep sleep, to force us to look into the mirror and realize that our spirit is entirely separate from our physical trials. Look at how beautifully 1 Thessalonians 5:23 maps this out. Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit and soul and body be kept blameless. God keeps our spirit and soul blameless. The divine, our Creator, does not want the H.O.R.S.E Police Department trapped in the endless, exhausting prison of PTSD, trauma, or grief. This sacrifice wasn't meant to anchor you to a dark hotel forever. It was meant to unlock our understanding of eternal life and who the Creator and divine actually is. Even when our physical frames face trauma, our true essence remains untouched. Look at 2 Corinthians 4:16. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. Our outer self is our physical being. Our inner self is our spiritual being, our soul. And because our inner self, the soul, the spiritual being, is being renewed day by day, we give the ultimate power over our minds. Look at what Romans 12:2 explicitly tells us. Do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And because our inner self is being renewed day by day, our inner self, our spiritual being, our soul. We are given the ultimate power over our minds. That means every single day, every single minute of every single second, we could choose our thoughts and feelings every single day. We don't have to be stuck in the prison of PTSD, trauma, and grief when we know it wasn't our fault and there was no way we could stop it. If our Creator tells us that we are actively to renew our minds daily, it means we have the power to choose our thoughts every single morning. Knowing that truth, why do we continue to choose to live in the paralyzing grip of old grief and trauma? We don't need to do that anymore. Darrin's outer self finished its work, but his inner self, his soul, his spiritual being is fully renewed, resting in the unbelievable, overwhelming love of the Creator. Yes, everyone who knew and loved him will continue to miss him deeply. But this understanding frees us from the past. It gives us permission to step out of the PTSD, out of the grief, out of the blaming, choosing our thoughts, enjoying our families, love deeper, and be truly joyous for where he is now, in the loving bosom and space of the Creator and God. Who, by the way, God is all loving. All loving. All loving. That's where Darrin is. His earthly name continues to lift up the next generation through the Darrin Reed Memorial Scholarship at the Northland Pioneer College, helping new recruits step into their purpose. And Kathy ensures heart for service continues to watch over you through the Darrin Reed Foundation she built. Over his 20 years of service, Darrin did it all. He was a detective, he worked special investigations, and he guided rookies as a field training officer. And when his contract on Earth was fulfilled, he returned home as a completely successful, victorious veteran police officer who finished his dream. To every brother and sister still wearing the badge in Sholo, or anywhere else on the planet, Darrin and all of the first responders who had transitioned back to the spiritual realm, you could all drop the heavy burden of guilt. You can, if you choose to step out of the trauma loop. Step away from grief. Step away from PTSD. And choose to renew your mind today, daily. It's not your burden to carry. It never was. Make the choice. Look at each other. Hug each other. Pat each other on the back. Cherish your families. And be joyous where Darrin is today. Remember who he was as a person, as a friend, as a father, as a grandfather. And have happy thoughts. Not sad thoughts. Because there's 100% you could not done anything different than what you did. The soul contract for Officer Darrin Lee Reed was up. And he knew it. His premonitions prove he was tethered to the divine. Today's July 19th, 2026. Happy 60th birthday, Officer Darrin Lee Reed. The White Mountains of Arizona will never forget you. They are still holding the line down here. And all your brothers and sisters are finally free to heal. I am known as the Solution Horse. And the acronym for HORSE is Health, Opportunity, Relationships, Support, Evolve. If you need assistance with trauma or PTSD or guilt or grieving and you didn't understand something I said, reach out. But don't expect a phone call from me. I would arrive in person. And I know the weight is heavy. As a veteran and a first responder, and the daughter of a veteran and a first responder, I know that weight. Again, reach out. If you don't reach out to me and you're still dealing with PTSD, grief, and guilt of what happened on November 8th, 2016, reach out to someone. Because you don't need to be guilty anymore. You don't need to have PTSD. You don't need to have trauma any longer, as I just released you from it. Thank you for sharing space with me.